So it's a new month, a new trading week, a new weekly market analysis video, and another opportunity for us to make money once again from the market, right? So welcome back to my YouTube channel, and I'm here to share with you my directional bias for the upcoming trading week, right? And this week, I'm not just going to be talking about Euro USD and gold alone. I'll be adding something different, right? So I'll be talking about BTC as well. Okay, so real quick, without wasting much time, let's step onto the chart and let me show you what I am looking at for the upcoming trading week on Euro USD, on gold, and then on Bitcoin. So real quick, I'm going to start with my favorite pair on the weekly time frame, right? So yeah, the weekly time frame, we already know what it's doing. We've broken structure to the upside, so we are bullish on the weekly time frame. And currently, price is reacting from this weekly reactive supply zone. Okay, so real quick, I'll just step onto the daily and then let's define whatever I am seeing here. So right here on the daily time frame, I have this wonderful low right in here all the way to this high as my trading range. Okay, so I'm going to be focusing on this leg, this push to the upside, right? So it means that I have some kind of a demand zone in here, right? Great. So I'm just going to mark this one nicely, and then probably when I step onto H4, I can refine this. Okay, so yeah, on the H4 time frame, I'm going to refine this nicely to probably this one right in here, and I think I see other ones. I can see this one also right in here, and I can even see this one also, so I'll just mark that, right? I'm aware of this imbalance in here, but I don't want to have so many colors, but then let me just mark that. So I'm just going to mark this imbalance as well nicely, IMB, right? And I'm just expecting price to come into these levels. Now before price will come into these levels, I have to see something, right? So what do I have to see? Let me go back to the daily and then let's see it clearly. So right here on the daily time frame, you can see this. You can see that we had this wonderful low over here which created this high, right? So in here we had about 3 legs of internal structure making, let's say, 1 leg in here. Okay, so yeah, I'll just put a ray line on this low right in here. So it means that I need to break this low before I come here. If price doesn't break this low, I'm not coming here. Okay, so now we can step onto H4 and let's see what we have in there. So on the H4 time frame, I will quickly mark this level of demand right in here nicely. Okay, and then I'm gonna refine it when we get to H1. Okay, so yes, I'll step onto H1. I did the same refinement last week, so yes, I'll repeat that. So I'm gonna mark this nicely as my refined point of interest, and then this is what I'm gonna do. You can see that there is liquidity right in here, so this is equal lows. Right now, if you look at this low which had the point of interest, this low is in confluence with what? Asian lows. And you guys know that I don't necessarily, or I don't normally take all points of interest from Asian lows, but this time around I'm looking at something, right? If you look at this Asian low actually grabbed liquidity before it moved to the top, right? So we grabbed this liquidity before you move to the top. So I'm having this feeling that price may hold within this point of interest. Even apart from that, we had this equal lows over here as well. So liquidity grab, liquidity build above that point of interest, which is in confluence with the Asian low. So I'll just mark this one nicely, right? And yes, even though I can't tell whether it will hold or not, the intraday time frames are going to tell us if price is going to do something like that. So right here on the intraday time frames, right, I can see this high which created all the way to this low, and then I have this one which is now creating this potential low. The reason why I'm saying potential low is that we are not done yet, right? And then within this leg I can see something. What can I see? I can see 1 2 3, right? So in as much as we are not done with this price action, I can just mark this point of interest right in here on the intraday time frame. So I'm gonna mark this one nicely, and that will be supply. Now this is what I will be expecting. Okay, when the market opens, right, in as much as I've marked this point of interest over here, when the market opens, I can expect price to come all the way here, tap into this zone, give us a reaction into this zone. Now when we get into this zone, I'm going to see how price will react to this supply zone that I've marked. Now this is what can happen. We can have price respecting the supply zone and then moving all the way down to break this and then further come into this point of interest that we have below. Okay, that's the first scenario. Second scenario is when the market opens, we can make a little push into the zone, and then price will come all the way into the zone. Probably we may not have price respecting the zone, and then we might have what, a break. After this break, I might expect what, a retracement into certain levels, right? Or even sometimes no retracement, and then we're going to continue to push all the way to the upside. Okay, but then even with the upside, I also know that I have this point in here which price could actually respect. So in as much as we react from this zone and then we break this, we can have price coming into the zone. If this zone decides to hold, fine, we might come down now and now break this point of interest, right? So these are the scenarios that I'm looking at on Euro USD. Okay, so I'm repeating. First, when the market opens, I can have price coming into this area. We respect this, and then we move all the way down to break this low and tap into this lower point of interest. Two, when the market opens, we're going to come back into this zone, right? Break this, a little retracement or no retracement, and then we come into this zone before we can see whatever price to do, whether we're going to hold or break, right? So if we hold this zone, we can expect price to come down. And as price is coming down, also have it in mind that momentum is what is bullish, right? So if this level decides to hold, then we might continue. But if it decides to break, yes, then we might continue all the way to the downside, right? Now, at times too, when the market opens, we may not necessarily come into this zone, right? We can just break this one nicely, and then after the break, probably price will now retrace, and then we now move to the downside into the levels of demand that we have below, right? So that is what I'll be looking at on Euro USD. So real quick, let us move to BTC. So yes, on BTC, let us start from the higher time frame. So I'm going to start from the daily. Okay, so here on the daily time frame, this is what I'm looking at. So first, I can see this beautiful high that has created this low. This was a break of structure to the downside, right? So it means that we had a point of interest somewhere here, and that is where price is currently, right? That is where price is at the moment. Now, after we've been able to get this, let's step onto H4 and then further into intraday time frames to see what price is doing right in there. Okay, so right here on the H4 time frame, this is what I can see. I will not even complicate things, right? This is actually the last low that I'm seeing, which created this high, right, after this break of structure. So I'll just mark that range, just like I've done, this low to this high, as the range within which what I'm looking forward to work from. Right now, within this range, I have this point of interest right in here, so I'm going to mark this nicely as my level of demand. Okay, so all what I'm going to be expecting is probably on the higher time frames, we can have price coming into this zone, and if this zone decides to hold, then we might push up, right? If this zone breaks also, then we are coming down. Okay, but then I'll just be focusing within this leg until this zone breaks. I don't have anything else to do with regards to like selling below this point. Okay, so now that I have this, I can step onto like, let's say H1, and then let's see what the H1 is doing. So here on the H1, nothing much. I'm just seeing a high which created a low, and then another high which has created a new low over here. Right now, right in here, we had price showing an intention to retrace. Let me step onto intraday time frame so that you can see it clearly. So we had price showing an intention to retrace. You see what price did? We made a push to the downside after breaking this low, and then we came to break this high. Then all of a sudden we came back down to take away these lows, right? So what can happen is we can have price actually like retracing into these levels once more, and then now we can drop all the way into this zone, right? And when we get to this zone, you'll see how price will react, whether we are going to hold within this zone to push to the top, or we are going to continue with the bearish momentum all the way to the downside. So as simple as that, nothing complicated, right? So currently, this is the zone that I'm working at, the range that I'm working within, right? From this high all the way to this low. If this high breaks, yes, then I'll see what price will do next, right? But then currently, this is where I'll be focusing on, just this range in here. And then I am personally looking at price to probably retrace a little bit up, and then we drop all the way into the demand zone below, right? So as simple as that on Bitcoin. Okay, then on gold, right? So on gold, what am I looking at? Okay, so again, I'm going to start from the higher time frame. on gold. Now let's look at this on the weekly time frame. We have this giant push, right, from this low all the way to the high right in here, and then I can see price doing this 1 2 3. So this is a break of structure to the downside, and probably price is what's respecting, you know, a level in here. So we might, you know, have a push all the way to the downside, right? But then this is just higher time frame picture. Let's see if the lower time frames is also showing an intention to what, make a push all the way to the downside. So we're going to step onto the daily, and then we're going to start from there. So here on the daily time frame, I can see one beautiful point, which is this last low over here, right, all the way to this high. So right now, instead of focusing on all of these price actions, I'm going to focus on just this leg in here. Okay, so I will humbly mark the zone right in here, and then we can see that price is approaching the zone. Now what it means is that if price comes into this zone and price decides to hold, we might have a push all the way to the upside, right? But if this level decides to break, then we are good to go. So let's see if the intraday time frames will tell us something like that. So right in here on the H4 time frame, we can see that we had this last low which made a push to the top, taking out, but all of these are internal structures, right? We are still within this push, and then we can see that the last internal structure has been taken out. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to step onto intraday and let's examine whatever price was doing in here. Okay, so here on the intraday time frames, I want to see if there is any kind of liquidity pool. Yes, there was some equal lows here. I think it has already been grabbed, right? So we are looking for price to probably come into this range. Okay, so first off, again, almost similar to what happened on EU, we had a push to the downside, breaking this internal structure, creating a new leg, right? But then within this new leg, I have this last point of interest, this one, nicely. So I'm going to mark this one nicely. Okay, and this is going to be a supply zone. Now again, when the market opens, I can expect something. Even in here, I can see that we have gone above this wick over here, so the intention to start a retracement to the top has already started, right? However, when the market opens, we can still have a push like this to the downside before we can now make a move into this place. If this zone decides to hold, then we might continue with the bearish move all the way to the downside. Or when the market opens right after this retracement, we're going to continue like this all the way into this zone. Again, if this zone decides to hold, then we might now come all the way into this demand zone that we marked below, right? However, if this supply zone decides to break, then we're going to follow momentum, and then we're going to break that. After the break, we're going to see if price will give us any intention to retrace, right? If there is any intention to retrace, we capitalize. If there is no intention to retrace, we ride along with the bullish momentum all the way to the top, right? But personally, I think that price might respect the supply zone and tank into these levels of demand, right? If this levels of demand decides to hold with the buys, why not? We can have a switch, a change of intent within these levels of demand, right? So currently we can see that we have some few pips away from tapping into this zone. So let's see what the market has for us. When the market opens, if it decides to tank into this zone before pushing up, fine. This is our last point that we need to breach before we move, you know, higher, right? If we don't breach this point, we are tanking all the way to the downside, right? So yes, real quick, this is what I'll be looking at on these three wonderful pairs. If you found value in this video, give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment in the comment section, and I'll see you in other future important videos.